It'll be hot today, but even hotter weather as we move toward the weekend. A little bit of concern on that coming up in the full forecast. So a mix of sun and clouds today. We'll see excessive heat warnings into effect beginning tomorrow and taking you through early next week. And the humidity might be moving up just a little bit too. More on that in the full forecast today. 115 our high, a little hotter than yesterday, but not as hot as it's going to be as we move into Saturday, Sunday. Full forecast, all the numbers in just minutes.
All right, Jerry, thank you. Now to our top story. An early morning standoff in La Quinta Cove is over, and people forced from their homes in the middle of the night are back home. But exactly what triggered all of this is still under investigation. What we do know is this began in the area of Monterey and Avenida Juarez around 1 this morning. And when Riverside County deputies arrived at the scene, they immediately closed off several streets, created a broad perimeter, and went door to door telling residents they needed to leave their homes as a precaution. We've also been told by some residents they heard flashbangs around 8 this morning. Right now, we can tell you the scene is cleared, and again, exactly what happened is still being sorted out. Fire crews are battling a fast-moving brush fire that had already claimed more than 10,000 acres in the Lake Hughes area. The wildfire broke out near Warm Springs yesterday and quickly exploded in size. As of this morning, it is 0% contained. Firefighters say the hot, dry air and high winds are ideal for the massive blaze. There is also dense vegetation in the area to fuel the flames. Now, a bit closer to home, the Apple fire is now 80% contained. This after burning more than 33,000 acres. Bracing for hot, dry, and windy conditions through the weekend, crews are being sent home and 24-hour shifts have stopped. Full containment is expected by Monday.
Coronavirus coverage brought to you by East Valley COVID-19 testing site, serving residents of eastern Coachella Valley.
California is seeing a decrease in COVID-19 hospitalizations. Governor Newsom says we're turning in the right direction when it comes to fighting the pandemic. The state saw more than 11,000 new COVID cases, but more than half of those are the result of a backlog created by a data reporting error. The 2-week hospitalization rates are down about 19%, and the rate of ICU patients is also down. Now here's a look at the latest numbers from the county and the Coachella Valley. Over 800 new cases were reported in Riverside County, 119 of those from the valley. 29 new deaths reported in the county, 10 of those from the valley. A glitch in data reporting for the state means about 300,000 COVID cases were underreported. And now county health officials and lawmakers worry the technical glitch is just part of the problem. Our Regina Urita shares how slowdowns are happening at nearly every step of the process.
As California attempts to resolve a technical glitch in their reporting system, local legislators are worrying if they can't trust the numbers from the state. How will they know when we can reopen?
The tricky part is going to be to determine the new positives. Are they recent positives, or were there positives from 2 to 3 weeks ago?
Case numbers are all over the place. At the end of July, the county was reporting daily new case numbers in the 200s. This week, the daily numbers are in the 1400s.
We will take all of that backlog, the 295,000 backlog numbers, cases, figure out total number of positives.
Governor Newsom says the issue is being resolved, but county officials say it's not just the data glitch that's making the numbers unreliable. It's also a backlog in testing.
The testing turnaround takes way too long to meet the objective of testing. It is, in some locations, it's taken 6 to 7 days, and others up to 10 or 14 days, which is unacceptable.
Unacceptable and dangerous because people that were tested may not quarantine while they wait for their results.
A week, that person could have gotten exposed. So you really want to know right away.
And even when the test results come back, nurses say there's simply not enough workers to get in contact with people and tell them their results.
Professionals to talk to the positives and volunteers to talk to the negatives, and we call them the next day. But some places, especially that are larger places like the county, can't do that.
With slowdowns at every step of the process, business owners and people that are unemployed are hanging in the balance.
It's very hard for us. We just start open. Some people just start getting back the clients, and now it's closed again.
For NBC Palm Springs, I'm Regina Urita.
Volunteer nurses say that while the test results are backlogged, they believe that once it's fully resolved at the state level, results should be received within 2 to 3 days after testing. The doctor for the CDC urges Americans to follow public health measures, saying if we don't, we could have the worst fall in U.S. public health history. Dr. Robert Redfield is urging people to wear a mask, social distance, wash their hands, and be smart about crowds. Redfield also wants Americans to get the flu vaccine this year. He says the CDC is prepared with 10 million doses for uninsured adults. New jobless numbers are in. Last week, 960,000 people filed for unemployment benefits. It's the first time in 5 months jobless claims are under 1 million. The decline suggests layoffs are slowing down. In this You Ask, We Investigate report, with unemployment levels at an all-time high, some renters in Desert Hot Springs are facing rising rents. And as our Olivia Sandusky reports, they feel their landlord's actions are heartless during the pandemic.
Watch this, these things.
For the last year, Jim Farley has rented his property in Desert Hot Springs, but he says a recent rent increase is forcing him to move out.
I barely squeaked by paying what I was agreed to pay. Now I can't do it at all.
The 87-year-old veteran qualified for the Section 8 program, but says his new property owner will not accept Section 8 tenants. An action a recent court case says is legal, as it clarified Section 8 is not income and is ultimately not discrimination.
So I have to live on a very small Social Security.
Jim and the other renters were also notified that besides a slight rent increase, they would be facing higher utility charges. Now his neighbor Jody will pay an additional $500 a month, increasing her total by 37%.
There's just no way that's going to happen. COVID's going on. My husband's already missed 5 weeks of work because of it, and you know, it's impossible to just up and move.
Utopia Management says the increase is to help maintain costs of their property and complies with California's housing laws.
And we do everything by law, and we notify everybody. We're not, as the management company, trying to make anybody homeless or whatever their issues are with their rent or with paying the bills. We're just enforcing what the owner is asking of us.
The property manager says she's willing to work with the tenants, but the renters say they plan to leave.
It's very unfortunate because it seems as if none of them have a heart.
Olivia Sandusky, NBC Palm Springs.
An eviction moratorium is still in place, and Utopia says Jim will not be kicked out, but they will help him find a new place to rent. Let's take a live look outside right now. This is our Agua Caliente Casino cam in Palm Springs. And Jerry, as we look at this, it's absolutely a beautiful scene. A few clouds in the area, but it's going to get warm.
Yeah, we'll call it hot. We have our sights set on numbers that are way up there for the weekend. Palm Springs and Thermal both will peak at 117 to 120 respectively for Saturday and Sunday. The records right below those numbers. Looks like Sunday will be the day we'll see records fall all over the Southwest, including Palm Springs and Thermal, with their records set at 115 and forecast at 120. So those will easily be surpassed. Some other records will fall too. 102 already in Palm Springs. That's the current temperature. And the number that stands out right now is that 110. That's the current temperature at Thousand Palms. We're seeing a quick warm up of temps around the Coachella Valley. The skies, which were overcast earlier today, beginning to thin out. That's all because of Alida, the tropical system, which is now just a remnant low, pulling its way to the north and taking some of those feeder bands with that system to the north. A little bit of rain falling from some of those clouds, but for the most part, nothing really making its way to the ground. Maybe a few sprinkles in the higher elevations. That's about it. We're going to stay dry here in the Coachella Valley, but temps between 114 and 117 for highs this afternoon, putting us well above average. Dew points a little higher than yesterday. A lot of 50-degree numbers by the middle of the afternoon. So because the temps are moving up a little hotter tomorrow through early next week, an excessive heat warning in effect for just about all of Southern California. That does include the Coachella Valley. Comfort Air 3-day forecast. We'll see those numbers inch up a little more each day. 115 today for Palm Springs, 116 tomorrow, 117 on Saturday, And yeah, you saw the 120s for Sunday. Full forecast and 7-day in just a few minutes.
Water is your friend today. Thank you, Jerry. A new proposal is on the table in Palm Springs to expand restaurant dining into the streets down Palm Canyon and arenas. A decision could be made as early as next Thursday. Our Daytona Everett reports businesses are on standby for the decision.
This could be the future for downtown Palm Springs. You're looking at Mill Street in Grass Valley. It's a little vacation town in Northern California.
We're calling it Mill Around Downtown.
About 30 days ago, they expanded their businesses into the streets, shutting off traffic.
But it's been feeling really good and everyone is feeling just a little bit safer.
The same could happen to portions or all of Palm Canyon and arenas.
Here on Arenas Road, they've sectioned off for Pride, they've sectioned off for Halloween. But we wanted to know from businesses, could this be done semi-permanently?
We don't see a lot of negatives.
Chill Bar has already pivoted to make their business stay alive during the pandemic. They now sell food and added more outdoor seating in their parking lot. Owner Rob Giesica says he'll take any help he can get.
Being the only bar or restaurant that's on arenas open, it feels a little bit lonely.
Over at El Patron, out-of-town customers say Palm Canyon could also benefit from expanding into the streets, even though tables can already be seen on some sidewalks and parking lots.
Sure, because it looks really closed down right now and people are looking for something that's open.
If they were to shut down part of the street, release a couple lanes out there and put tables out there, I think it'd be great.
With more safety and logistical details to iron out, places like Chill Bar will continue operating at half capacity until they get the go-ahead. Daytona Everett, NBC Palm Springs.
And stay with us. Up next, caught on camera, coming to the rescue. A Lodi police officer saves a man trapped on a railroad track. Some frantic moments for one Lodi man yesterday after nearly being hit by an oncoming train. But one police officer came to the rescue, rushing to pull the man out of his wheelchair. It was stuck on railroad tracks as a train approached. Officer Erica Uria quickly got out of her car and ran to the man, dragging him to safety. Unfortunately, one of the man's legs was clipped by the train. He is expected to survive. Heavy rain left parts of Elliott City, Maryland, underwater. Between 2 to 3 inches of rain fell yesterday, prompting local officials to issue an emergency flood warning system. Parts of the city's historic downtown area saw mudslides. Officials set up roadblocks, detouring consumers and customers to safe areas. Flooding is nothing new to the area. Residents were devastated by floods in 2016 and 2018. A wildfire is burning in northern Oregon. It's threatening homes in Wasco County. This was the scene late last night as the fire burned. The fire began earlier in the evening, but by 10 p.m. it was around 500 acres. Hundreds had to evacuate the surrounding area. Fire crews battled the flames with help from large air tankers and helicopters. The cause of the fire is unknown. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to sweep across the United States, the future of school sports and other extracurricular activities is uncertain. This week, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 conferences announced putting off sports until next spring. Mandy Gaither has some tips on helping students struggling with the postponements.
From tailgates to touchdowns, musicians and marching, in high school and college, activities and sports can become part of a person's identity.
If something like COVID comes along and sweeps and takes that away, it can feel kind of jarring.
Jamie Houle, a sports psychologist with Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center, says struggling students should focus on 3 things. First, stay connected.
It could look like Zoom calls. It could look like FaceTiming. It look like, just kind of texting, Snapchat, all that kind of thing. But just trying to stay connected.
Second, stick to a routine.
If we can try to maintain that as much as possible, that's going to help with a sense of normalcy.
Finally, be mindful. Pay attention to the things you can control.
We encourage them to catch that thought and bring it back to the present moment. What am I doing right now? What activity am I working on? And who am I talking to?
While times are hard, this can make students even stronger.
Hopefully we look back on this time as a time that folks were able to kind of build that really tough skin where they can go through really hard things and still keep moving forward.
For today's Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And stay with us. Coming up, the search for purpose and meaning during the pandemic. Our life coach, Leah Rasnick, has some suggestions. And take a look at our Agua Caliente Casino cam from Palm Springs. Jerry's got your AccuWeather hot forecast coming up. In this morning's Showbiz Report, World's Toughest Race, Eco Challenge Fiji, begins streaming on Amazon this weekend. Manny the Movie Guy takes us behind the scenes.
I can imagine that the show can turn into the world's toughest show to produce. Give us a genesis of how the show was conceived.
Oh, it definitely is. The behind the scenes is just as complicated sometimes as what the athletes are going through. Well, Mark Burnett started the race in 1995. It was April 21st in the deserts of Utah, Eco Challenge began. And then we hosted the race around the world until 2002. Our last location was Fiji. And then we came back in 2019 and to produce the race in Fiji and start where we left off.
And now it has returned.
bigger and more punishing than ever before.
It's incredible. Like, this sport allows people from all backgrounds to participate, and it's a team sport. And so our youngest competitor is 18. Our oldest competitors are 68. I mean, that's such a huge playing field. And then you have really extreme athletes and more rookie teams. And then you have 30 different countries represented.
I have a bone to pick with you though. Why is there no Team Philippines?
Oh, well, let's try to get a Team Philippines.
To make sure that those people who feel underrepresented feel that they have a voice.
I understand that your group is a mixture of LGBT and straight folks, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that is super important for us, though, because we want to show that, there are strong LGBTQ plus people out there that like to go out and do things like this. And, you don't have to do something this extreme, but you should still go out and enjoy the outdoors, be active and be fun.
I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. To do this race with my dad is a priceless experience. I'm sure you're aware that I have Alzheimer's, and quite frankly, I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I've been racing in the Eco Challenge for years and years and years, always knowing what was going to happen. This time, I didn't know what was going to happen. I don't know what Alzheimer's is going to do to me, and quite frankly, I was a little bit scared. The good news is that Travis and our other teammates helped me out at all times. It turned out great.
We can handle anything that comes because we're in it together. Even though things may be tough, it's not always going to stay that way. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
This race provided some catharsis. It for me provided a rite of passage, and it really was enjoyable in that way.
We've got a team down. A team is down.
What year is it?
We made it there. Coachella.
Just a few hours ago on our Agua Caliente Casino Cam, we had overcast conditions right now. Partly cloudy skies as expected. The clouds are beginning to thin out a little bit thanks to a tropical system that's kind of passing by. Temperatures are moving up quite quickly. Let's take a look at some of those numbers right now. Easily into triple digits for the Coachella Valley. And standing out is this 110 already at Thousand Palms. 107 at the airport, 105 Desert Hot Springs, 97 Cabazon, partly cloudy, 101 at 29 Palms. Yeah, a little bit of cloud cover on the satellite imagery, but you can see little patches of clearing around Southern California, all tied in, at least most of it, with a system that used to be a hurricane a few days ago. Alita making its way up the coastline. Some of the feeder bands are still kind of hanging around Southern California, but as that system moves its way to the north and west, it'll pull those clouds with it, and we're beginning to see that thin out. We did get a little rain falling from some of those clouds, but because it's still quite dry at the surface, a lot of this is not reaching the ground. I scanned all of Southern California to find out if any rain amounts popped up, but the only places I could find were around the Santa Ana Mountains, 0.02 of an inch of rain, and just to the east of the Marine Base in the high desert, also 0.02 of an inch of rain. Other than that, no rain at all for the Coachella Valley area. So kind of quiet right now on radar. Basically nothing happening now, and the rain chances for the most part have ended, except for the mountains. We could see a pop-up storm and maybe along the coast a little bit of rain. But that will end too as you move into tomorrow. Maybe a little bit of shower activity for the mountains. As far as chances of rain, maybe this afternoon we'll see something in the San Bernardino Mountains, but that's about it. As far as highs today, around that 115 mark in the Coachella Valley. High pressure will strengthen even more beginning tomorrow and sticking around for the next several days to follow. Stopping shy of 120 degrees for many of us in the Coachella Valley. May see a mountain thunderstorm develop late in the day. 116 Friday, tomorrow at Palm Springs, 119 at Indio. So because of that, beginning tomorrow, excessive heat warnings go into effect not only for the Coachella Valley, but much of Southern California. And the peak of the heat will happen on Sunday with 120s, 121s. So we're going to watch that day very, very closely. It's going to be very hot. And watching the dew points, too, they move up a little bit, too. We could even see these numbers move to the mid-50s by this coming weekend. Okay, the tropics. Now, we mentioned Alita, which is basically remnant low right now and moving its way along the coast. Two other tropical waves we're watching right now, which have a good chance of developing into the next named storm, Fausto. Could happen by this weekend. Here's your Comfort Air 7-day forecast. It's going to be a string of hot days. 115 or better for the next week. Hottest day, it looks like it'll happen this weekend, Sunday. High of 120 under partly cloudy skies.
Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. Words from an Austrian psychiatrist. It fits today. Our favorite life coach, Leah Rasnick, is here with ways to connect to purpose during the pandemic. It is so good to see you. It's been a long time.
Yes, Joe, it's good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about meaning and purpose.
And we think about it as something in the future, right? We think, okay, what's my purpose on life? It's a big deal. Can I figure it out? But the truth is, if we really look at it, the meaning and the purpose in our lives comes from our unique gifts, our unique skills, our unique interests. And it's been with us since we've been very young. We're developing something in ourselves that's unique to us that gives us tremendous meaning, tremendous root into this human experience.
So let's talk about some different ways that we can get through this pandemic, different ways that we can enjoy ourselves, because that may be a little bit difficult to do right now. Let's talk about maybe volunteering.
There are so many volunteer opportunities, and volunteer, of course, brings in meaning, right? We feel so purposeful when we're offering something to someone else in the world. We are needed. If you're in your house and you don't know what to do, reach out to some local organizations, find out what's going on.
Now, learning new things, this is a great time to do that. You've got to be willing, though.
That's a very good point. And I'll tell you, as an online teacher and coach, the amount of interest has tripled in what I'm teaching online. There are so many things that you can learn right now. We've got podcasts, we've got videos, we've got Zoom. We're all zoomed out. We have Zoom-itis. How does that relate to meaning? One of the things that we can be doing while we are laying low is building what we're interested in the future. Don't lose sight of where you're going. That's a very important part of this time right now. Don't lose sight and think that this is forever. And you can be creating your life for after the pandemic now by learning new things, by by experiencing new interests, by doing some of the things that you've wanted to do that you haven't had time to do.
I like that a lot. And the other thing that I think is important, sometimes writing can be very difficult for people. But once you start, it really becomes very easy. And it really is a creative way to express how you're feeling, what's on your mind, etc.
So I recommend, and I do this in my programs, is we start with journaling. Journaling is your own private little writing. No one needs to ever see it, but it's a good way to start getting your thoughts and your ideas out. And think about this. Imagine us from the future. If you are writing about what's happening now in your world, from your perspective, you're actually writing history. This is such an interesting time in the world. All of the viewpoints of how this has affected everyone are going to be valuable when we reassess this. So I highly recommend writing. And how does it relate to purpose and meaning? Start writing and see what happens. See how your inner world starts to unfold.
That's great advice. Now, something that I was not familiar with, but on your notes you sent me, one was start a gratitude jar.
A gratitude jar is a big jar where every day or whenever you notice it, you take a little piece of paper and write down something that you're grateful for, something that might have happened, something that just occurs to you that you're so grateful for, and put it in the jar. And then when you need to feel grateful, when you need to be reminded, when you're feeling down and you're like, I need to remember how grateful I am for this life, you reach in and pull one out and read it. Or you offer it to someone else. Go around the studio. Here, have a piece of gratitude. See what's there.
Well, Leah, as always, you give us some hope, and that's the most important thing that we can have right now.
It's my pleasure, Joe. It's so good to be with you.
And stay right there. We'll be right back. In consumer news, AMC is planning to reopen some theaters as early as next week. AMC Theaters hopes to open more than 100 locations in the U.S. starting August 20th. The company also plans on continuing to reopen additional locations in the weeks ahead, aiming to have about 2/3 of its locations open by September 3rd. AMC operates around 600 theaters, making it the largest theater chain in the country. During this pandemic, 2 local teenagers raised thousands of dollars to protect healthcare workers. Our Kitty Alvarado was there to see their good deed in person.
Like many teenagers, 17-year-old Pia and 19-year-old Summer Man have been stuck at home during this pandemic.
We couldn't leave the house, and it was hard to think of ways that we could give back and try to make a difference.
Because their parents are doctors, they know COVID-19 is a threat to them and all healthcare workers on the front lines.
Before this whole coronavirus crisis, I never saw it in the way that they were going to work and they were risking their lives. I can't imagine how difficult this must be for them.
They also know that personal protective equipment can make the difference between them getting sick and staying safe. The sisters took action to raise money for PPE.
We started the GoFundMe. We all spread it through our social medias. The goal was $1,000 initially. Yeah. I was happy to get even $100 or $500. Really anything.
They did a lot better than that. 4 weeks later, here they are at Eisenhower Health, the not-for-profit hospital in Rancho Mirage, where their parents work, donating a check for $5,000.
Many people donated whatever they could. That really meant so much. So, yeah, this is really from everyone to you guys.
Thank you so much. You can't know how much this means to us. It is an absolute godsend. There are some months when we have gone through our normal allotment of PPE 4 or 5 days into the month.
2 nurses came down to show their gratitude.
Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you.
I just hope that this can aid them and protect them and give them some kind of peace of mind that their community is still with them.
Kitty Alvarado, NBC Palm Springs.
Doing good. As we head to break, let's take a live look outside. This is our Walter Clark Highway 111 camera. Jerry has got your very hot weather forecast coming up.
Oh, I love this picture. Our Agua Caliente Casino cam showing 2 levels of cloud cover. We have the upper level clouds, the wispy stuff in the upper levels of the atmosphere. Mid-level clouds, which we had a lot of early this morning, that's beginning to thin out right now. So a little bit of sunshine kind of in there too, as those clouds did thin out since this morning. Temperatures have warmed up quickly, easily in the triple digits by 10 this morning. 108 currently at Desert Hot Springs, 109 at Thousand Palms and Coachella. At the airport, 107, 97 degrees at Cabazon, 77 at Big Bear at this hour. We do have a little bit of cloud cover, as you just saw in our satellite imagery, beginning to thin out a little bit, all tied in with this system here, at least some of it. Lita, which used to be a hurricane a couple days ago, now just a remnant low making its way up and falling apart as it does so. But some of the feeder bands are moving their way into Southern California. You can see that beginning to clear out. Behind that, in northwest Mexico, clear skies will begin to clear out later in the day. But still some moisture in the mid-levels will stick around. We're seeing some echoes on radar, too. The majority of this not reaching the ground, just too dry at the surface still in Southern California. Nothing on radar around Southern California at this point in time. But we could see a mountain thunderstorm maybe pop up a little later on today, and a few showers maybe along the immediate coastline, but not a whole lot of accumulation expected. Partly cloudy skies and definitely hot. Temps are on that 115 mark this afternoon. Now, will we see some showers? Yeah, maybe around the San Bernardino Mountains a little later on today, but nothing widespread, as you can see as we move the clock into the afternoon hours. Even that will fall apart. So 115s, 116s this afternoon for the Coachella Valley. High pressure strengthens even more as we move into tomorrow. So we'll stop shy of 120 tomorrow afternoon. Still a chance of a few showers, most of it down to the south of us. Friday, 116s, 117s, 118s, even a possible 119 may pop up tomorrow under partly cloudy skies. So because of that, excessive heat warnings in effect beginning tomorrow, running through Monday, possibly longer for not only the Coachella Valley, but much of Southern California. It's going to be a scorcher with the peak of the temperatures happening on Sunday, 120s, 121s around the Coachella Valley. Now, as far as cloud cover, partly cloudy skies as we move into Friday and Saturday, Sunday, actually into early next week. We'll see lots of mid-level clouds, but still kind of dry at the surface. The only chance of rain will happen tomorrow. Maybe in the mountains, a thunderstorm will pop up briefly, but for the most part, yeah, hit and miss with the rain in Southern California. Surface moisture, 50-degree dew points today. These may inch up to the mid-50s, close to 60 by this coming weekend. A little bit more humidity. And if the humidity goes up, that could temper the numbers and bring this number of 120 down a little higher from 120. So anyway, it's going to be hot nonetheless. 115 today, and even above that, basically through the next 7 days. Excessive heat warnings kick into effect beginning tomorrow, running through Monday.
Well, have you ever heard of geomoisturization? I hadn't, but it turns out if identical twins are living apart, let's say one here in Palm Springs and one in Miami, their skin has different needs and their skin will actually age differently if they don't take care of it. So who's going to help us? Well, of course, Uli Haslacher, our friend from Purmar Skincare. Uli, nice to see you again. And I love this thought that climate means so much to what is on the outside of our skin. It's so important. Of course, we're concerned about nutrition and exercise and hydrating, but you're here to tell us that what we put on topically has a huge amount of effects on our aging.
That's true, Sandy. Hello, I always show my hands first. On this hand, I use Climate Smart Skincare, and on this hand, I use a regular moisturizer. And you can see the difference. It's not years, it's decades. This is, looks like my 35-year-old daughter, and this looks the grandma that I am.
And I love that you did such really intensive lab studies, and you hold a patent for this kind of skincare. So tell me what really went into creating this new concept that's so brilliant.
Well, it's actually not me saying it. And we got a U.S. patent, as you mentioned it. Thank you. I have it here with me. But this is actually medical research that found that skin has its natural built-in GPS system. So your skin knows exactly where you are. And based on your locations, temperature, humidity, and air pressure, the skin changes. And that is a unique finding that came in research, that then the next step was to understand that, of course, it affects skincare results. So what works in the desert, where it's dry and thin air sometimes, is very different than when you are in a humid climate like Miami.
So that goes back to our geomoisturization for those identical twins that live in different territories and different climates. Tell me a little bit about this 3-step product line that I understand really does it all for us. It's quick, it's easy, it's efficient, and it really will stop the aging process.
Yes. So this is our 3-step rotating system, Palm Springs. And you're actually getting 4 products. Why? Because you get 2 day creams for step 3, and you're going to rotate them accordingly to where you are. When you are in Palm Springs, you are using the Desert Day Cream because it's hot and dry. But when you take a trip to LA, as an example, more to the beach, and now you have some humidity, you change over to the Temperate Day Cream. That's geomoisturization. And here's what you get. Step number 1 is our hydrating balancer. This is your first layer of anti-aging ingredients. Because it's a liquid moisturizer, we can use a smaller molecule size of these anti-aging ingredients and different delivering system, so it gets deeper into the skin to help with the rejuvenation process. Step number 2 is the serum. That's now gel form. So these are medium-sized molecules of the anti-aging, and reaches a different part of your upper skin layers, and it jumpstarts repair and renewal there. It makes your smart skin even smarter, climate smart. And then step number 3, as I said, you now match it to the daily weather so your skin can adapt, repair, and protect itself in the daily weather you are in. So in Palm Springs, it's the Desert Day Cream. And in LA toward the beach, you are having more humidity, you switch over to the Temperate Day Cream, and voila, you have useful, beautiful skin.
I love it. I love it. And I love that all of your products are made in France, so they're 100% clean, and even your packaging is environmentally friendly.
100% biodegradable. And we're also using soy ink, so there is no more waste for Pour More. As we are the first climate smart skincare, we feel a huge responsibility that, we understand that sustainability, not creating more waste, is very important. Pour More formulas are very potent, so we're using already less water in them, so you use only very little. I just can demonstrate it here, actually, Sandy. Just a little pop like this is all you need for your face, and another little pop for your hands and for your chest, and you are done.
That is fantastic. Well, thank you as always, Uli. We love having you visit us and bring us so much information, and we love that you're so environmentally friendly from top to bottom. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye, Sandy. Stay healthy.
You too. Thanks so much. Well, have you ever heard of C19 certified? You're about to hear a lot about it, thanks to the founders of this grand new program. Let's welcome Adam and Andy. Hey guys, welcome to our program.
Hey, thank you so much for having us.
This to me is a brilliant idea because, of course, the CDC hands down guidelines. Of course, we get our government guidelines from our governors and our mayors and all of our legislators. But you have come up with a great new program for employers. Tell me a little bit about C19 certified.
Sure, Sandy. Yeah, so what we've done, like you said, there's all kinds of guidance and guidelines going on talking about what companies have to do in order to reopen, and it's different on a low municipality by municipality basis. So really what we did is we came up here with this program to provide a one-size-fits-all training program to make sure that employees understand the risks that coronavirus presents and the best practices to mitigate those risks while they're returning to work. Exactly. And we also took some of our content and behavioralized questions. And so that way employees know, the best practices to do when they do return to the workplace or if they're currently in the workplace.
Such a great idea. And how did you kind of formulate it? How did you distill it all down and decide which were the most important guidelines?
Sure. Well, how we formulated our course originally was we just wanted to find a way to get everyone back up and working as quickly as possible. And, ultimately we just looked to the CDC
and the World Health Organization to figure out, what the best protocols were. And then we looked on both the state and federal level to see what we could satisfy on that end.
Yeah. And then ultimately we were able to team up with leading medical and legal professionals out of Atlanta, Georgia, to really run through what we thought was the most critical information from both a medical perspective as well as a legal risk perspective, to make sure that we really hammered home for these employers and employees what we thought the key points that everybody really needed to make sure they brought home were.
So excellent. So it's essentially an e-learning course that employers can access. And tell me how they access that and what the response has been.
Sure. So it's really easy to access. We've made everything digital because of everything that's going on with coronavirus. We wanted to mitigate human contact to contact as much as possible. And so our e-learning course is as simple as getting a link from us that's private. We give that to an employer. They distribute it to their employees, and then their employees can go on, and our course is around 40 minutes. And once they're done, the individual employee will get a certification. And if they're a brick and mortar business, we will give the business a certification that they can hang up and display as well to make their customers feel confident that they've taken the proper steps.
And is this one size fits all? It's for small companies, but also big corporations?
Yeah, so what we're offering is a standard course. That's our typical one size fits all that we think makes sure that everybody has the baseline knowledge that they need to help try to prevent a widespread exposure in their workplace. But we're also working with companies to develop company-specific courses as well, where if you're walking into a specific office in Massachusetts for this one of our particular companies, what do they want you to do before coming into their office? What is exactly their weekly screening protocol? So we do have more customized courses for companies as well as our standard one size fits all as well. We're offering both solutions.
Exactly. And we've done, everything from restaurants to pharmaceutical companies to education networks. And so, with the standard course, we use our basic course, and then with the customized course, we use our basic course, and then we add on, like Andy said, those company specific policies.
So they say necessity, of course, is the brainchild of invention. You're young guys. What made you decide to come up with this concept?
Yeah, sure. Well, similar to, like I said before, we just wanted to figure out a way to get everybody working again and ultimately working safely. And so what we did was kind of just put our heads together and said, what can we do? And when we realized we had the ability to run an online education program, I think we both kind of took that responsibility under our arms and just put our heads down and said, we know that we need to get this out quickly to market if it's going to be successful. And so, we spent about a month and a half developing it. And I'd say by month 3, we had a working product.
Fantastic. Well, wishing you the best of luck, Adam and Andy. Thank you so much for sharing it with our viewers. Again, C19 certified, and we'll have your website on there with a link so that everyone can access it. Thank you so much. A great idea, especially during these times.
Awesome. Thank you for having us.
Andy, stay safe.
Thanks.